So today we're going to start talking about axles. Last time we went with the stock 3,500 pound axle, but this time we decided to do things to make manufacturing a little easier. Since we're going suspensionless without using the traditional springs, it made it really hard for us to weld on a round bar that had a curve in it for preload. This time we're going to be using square tubing, and this time we bought this 1 3/4 spindle, and we bought some tubing with an inside diameter of 1 75 inches. Now it's a little snug, so we're going to have to do a little bit of grinding later to make it all fit, but I think it's going to turn out nice. But all the square tubing and square stock is going to make it really easy for us to have a good weldable surface and to be able to line things correctly. So now we're going to talk about our measurements. We got to get ready to cut this axle to length. So we're going to need to know a few things. So let's go outside and let's look at our existing trailer, and we'll see what kind of distances we need on our tire from our frame. The current trailer that we have set up has about 3 inches from the tire here. And while we're here, we can also measure that there's an extra inch to get to the rim. So when we take into account, we'll have an inch difference between our rim distance and our tire distance. I feel like that the standard axle probably was a little longer to allow for brake installation, and we're not going to have that on this build. So I think that if we move this tire to about 2 inches away, which puts our rim closer to about 3 inches away, then I think that we'll be real good. Okay, so the next measurement we're going to need is going to be our hub face to our trailer rim. So we're right at about 1/2 inch when we measure our depth of our rim down to our hub face. So then we got to come and get our next measurement, which is going to show our bearing angle. So our next measurement we got to have is our gap, and then we're also going to have to weld a bead on this when we come into measurement. So we have about a 1/4 inch gap between this hub face and where the bearings align this stock at, but we also want to allow about a 1/4 inch for a weld bead so that we're not getting any slag onto the machine surface. Okay, so now that we got our 3 measurements, let's come and figure out what they are. We decided we needed 3 inches to our wheel face to our trailer frame. We measured from our trailer wheel to our hub face was 0.5 inches. And then we additionally decided that it's going to need to be about a 1/4 inch and another 1/4 inch back. So we're back at 0.5 inches again. So this basically cancels out, and we're back at our 3 inches of overlay from our trailer frame to the end of where we're going to cut our axle metal. Our total width of our frame, the way that we built it, came out to be from here to here, outside to outside edge, was 75 3/8. So we're going to take the 75 3/8 and we're going to add 3 plus 3. We got 6, 81 3/8 is going to be our length of our axle. All right, so let's go get to cutting.
What up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
How's it going?
We got, guess who's back? Rob is back.
I'm back.
And we got Lance here still.
What's up?
We're building his trailer, so he better be here.
Yep.
So anyway, we've moved on some more and we got some footage to show y'all. Or y'all may have already seen it, I don't know, before or after. We'll decide. But, so anyway, we've been working on axles. This time we put our spindles in and then we got our distances measured. We welded them up. We put some gussets in and you're gonna see that all in the footage, but here's the gist of it. We got this one finished up till here. We started off by measuring both ends and made sure they were equal distance. Ended up being about 8.25 inches on both sides. Then we checked our squareness of it, and then we ended up going 14 inches from this front frame down because we were looking to get about a 1/4 inch overlap on both sides of this, because this axle is a 2-inch and the beam was only about 1 3/8 inches. So we wanted a little overlap so we'd have a good place to put a bevel on our welds. Once again, we wanted to remind you that we're using the Razor suspension. So we don't have any leaf springs in here, we don't have any torsion bars, because we're going to strap down the tires on the Razor and we're going to use the suspension for the Razor on these. If you want to see what that looks like, go back to the other videos and you'll see the first build. So after we got it all squared up, then we tacked it in place, did a double measurement with our squareness, and then what we ended up doing is taking a couple of triangle gussets in here so that we'd have a little bit of shear strength in case we ever hit a rock coming this way, then it wouldn't just rip any welds off on the ends. But another thing is, y'all may have seen that this 2-inch bar kind of looks a little thin. You know, it's 11 gauge, but you have to remember, because this isn't a floating axle, that we're going to be having this 3-inch C-channel that's going to be welded, spot welded on along there. So we don't need as much strength on this as you would a floating axle. Another thing is, in the previous one, y'all seen that we measured with an allowance for a 1/4 inch on the end to be able to weld and not get into our machine surface. And we did just that when we welded this in on both sides. And here's our other axle. We haven't put our other trailer together yet, but here we are right here with this weld all the way around. And it was such a tight fit, and you'll see us hammering it in there. But I was going to do if it was loose in there, I was going to do a little drill hole and then do a little bung weld. But it's so tight in there, there ain't no way this thing's coming back out. All right, Rob, you got anything to say on this?
There's a few 2.0 things I'd like to see find its way on 1.0, so I'm going to put that out there on YouTube to you. You know, make mention of that. I want to roll down the street with 1.75.
Well, there's a reason why we're doing a 2.0, because there were some things that, although it works great, there's always things to improve, and that's kind of what we're about on this channel. Think, build, test, make better after the test. Lance, how are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling like we're getting better, we're moving in the right direction, making ourselves some better trailers.
You gonna trust your $20,000 Razor on it in a couple of weeks?
It's gonna be a little iffy at first, but we'll see how it goes with the testing. If there's anything that needs to be improved, we'll do it and make sure we're right on track with where we want to be at.
I think he'll be fine. He's already put money on this, so. Anyway, that's it for this video, and enjoy the footage coming up, or maybe you already saw it, or maybe a little flash now.
When you buy square tubing, there's this fun little weld bead that's on the inside. So when you want to slip something in there, you're either going to have to file that out, or what we decided to do in this instance, since we had plenty of metal on the spindle, we just decided to cut a groove in there. We used the grinding blade to get that width, and after a couple of tries we got the right fit. We used a rubber mallet, put the nut on there and hammered it in. We left a 1/4 inch sticking out for having a weld bevel. We did not want to affect that mating surface because that's where the bearing seal will ride. This is where that 1/4 inch gap I was talking about comes into play. We do not want to touch that surface. Here we are making some corner gussets for strength on our axle where we're going to mate it to the frame. We just had some 2-inch 1/4 inch strap. Cut out 8 pieces for both trailers, 2 on each side. Just did 45-degree angles. Decided to add these pieces in here so that if the tire got a hard front or back bump, that it wouldn't be able to knock the weld loose.
Okay, so we're finishing up our axle welds, and we're just going to show you where all we placed our welds. And just come over here. We put a weld here, so we got a weld on every mating surface around here. We put a 3 to 4 inch bead here on this side, as well as the back side. And then we did a 4-inch bead on both sides of this, and you can see how we got a bevel placed there from the difference of the thickness, that's really what we wanted, and that was a great place to get some good contact surface. And then we just divided it up and did one halfway spacing between there, and then same thing over here. So that's pretty much wrapping up our welding on our axle. And as you can see, by pairing the beam with the axle square tubing, it's going to be really strong. And then you're back? Or is it going to look really stupid if we didn't put anything in there? But anyway, don't forget to click like, subscribe, put your notifications on, and we'll see you in the next video.